I remember the day I first told my family about my dream, about how I wanted to turn our city's trash into power, about building a future where waste wasn't just discarded, but transformed into something vital, something life-giving. They looked at me like I'd lost my mind. My father, his voice dripping with sarcasm, said, "You're dreaming, kid. That's impossible. Waste is waste. You're wasting your time on some crazy sci-fi fantasy." My mother shook her head, eyes full of disappointment, whispering, "This isn't what we raised you for. You're just embarrassing us." And my siblings, they laughed, called me a fool, told me I'd never succeed, that I was chasing a pipe dream for attention. It wasn't just teasing. It was outright rejection. They ridiculed my ambition, dismissed my ideas as naive and futile. They told me I'd fail, that I'd end up homeless or worse, an embarrassment to the family name. Every snide comment, every dismissive glance, every "you're wasting your life," it all cut deep. But inside, I knew I couldn't abandon what felt like my calling. When I was fired from my job after exposing toxic dumping, because I dared to speak the truth, I felt the full weight of their scorn. They called me a troublemaker, a naive idealist, and cheered my downfall. But that firing was the spark. It was the moment I decided I wouldn't be silenced or defeated. I poured every ounce of anger and hope into my vision. Urban waste-to-energy programs that could revolutionize how we see trash. I dedicated years to it. I studied, built prototypes, faced setbacks that felt like crushing failures. Industry giants mocked me as impractical sci-fi, dismissing my small startups as hopelessly naive. But I kept going. I knew that transforming waste into power wasn't just about innovation. It was about survival, about giving our city a future, about proving that even the most dismissed ideas could change the world. And slowly, the world started listening. We began turning trash into clean energy, reclaiming abandoned lots, transforming smog-choked streets into green corridors. Our projects gained momentum. Investors came, cities adopted our models. What once seemed impossible became inevitable. My work helped reduce pollution, created jobs, restored hope. I watched my city breathe easier, grow stronger, and I knew I had proved every doubter wrong. But the true test was yet to come. When I returned home after years of success, I expected the familiar cold shoulder, the smirks, the "we told you so's." Instead, I saw something else. My family gathered in the living room, faces a mix of curiosity and cautious pride. I walked in and they looked at me differently, not as the foolish dreamer they'd mocked, but as someone who had built something real, something lasting. Then I revealed what I'd done. I took them on a tour through the city, through streets lined with solar-paneled rooftops, parks powered by waste-to-energy plants, neighborhoods that buzzed with clean, renewable power. I showed them the barren lot that was once a dumping ground, now a thriving urban forest teeming with life. I told them how we had turned despair into hope, trash into treasure. And I watched their faces as they saw what they'd dismissed as impossible. Suddenly, my father's eyes welled with tears. He looked away, voice choked. "I didn't know. I didn't see it. I was wrong." My mother's hand trembled as she reached out to touch the green leaves sprouting from what was once a wasteland. My siblings stared, speechless, caught between pride and shame. That moment, when they saw firsthand what their mockery had dismissed, was the most cathartic I've ever experienced. Because it wasn't just about proving them wrong. It was about showing them that dreams rooted in conviction and perseverance could forge a new reality. That failure isn't final, and ridicule isn't truth. It's about resilience, about transforming rejection into redemption, about turning the trash of the past into the power of the future. And here's the lesson I carry with me. No matter how fierce the doubt, how relentless the ridicule, your vision isn't just your own. It's a seed, one that with enough faith and perseverance can grow beyond the limits others impose. They may mock, they may dismiss, but if you hold true to your purpose, if you keep fighting, you'll eventually show them what's possible. Because in the end, success isn't just about personal achievement. It's about rewriting the story they tried to write for you. It's about proving that even the most underestimated, the most dismissed, can rise to change the world. And I did. I turned my city's despair into sustainable hope. I proved that trash isn't waste, it's potential. And I learned that sometimes the greatest victory is not just in the triumph itself, but in the quiet, powerful moment when those who doubted you finally see the truth with their own eyes. So, to anyone listening, if you're chasing a dream they tell you is impossible, remember this. The world's greatest changemakers were once called fools. But fools turn into pioneers. Failures turn into triumphs, and mockery turns into the most profound validation of all. Because when you refuse to give up, when you turn your pain into purpose, you don't just change your life, you change the planet. And that, my friend, is the greatest success of all.